Well, it's a beautiful afternoon on the 15th of April 2021, and very best wishes to my friend and long-term subscriber Barrick Miller, who is going into hospital for some surgery this weekend. God bless, buddy. Hope all goes well. Got some very ominous looking clouds on the way, but for the moment, for this walk at least, it should be relatively pleasant. It's actually later than I thought. It's 6 in the evening. One of the side effects, a very obvious one, of having to take sleeping pills is that sometimes the circus in my head decides to kick in when I try and go to sleep. And the next day I've still got all the residue of those sleeping preparations floating about in my system, and I just feel like dead man walking, you know. Today's been like that. I don't find it happens to me much, but it's a feeling I quite enjoy. If I've got nothing to do, which I never have, it's a lovely feeling to just be utterly without energy during the day. I know it's a very unpopular opinion. I hear so many people saying, God, you see those people, those disgusting unemployed oiks, sleeping their lives away. I absolutely love sleeping, and I rate it as it's in my top 10 of those sort of basic little human joys. It's probably not quite up there with the all-time number one, but it's certainly up there with how much pleasure it actually gives me. Do you ever notice the amount of crap there is in the lexicon that drives us to sort of make admissions or show feelings of guilt when we don't actually feel any guilt whatsoever? Oh, I got up really late yesterday. I had so much to do, you know, and I just think, sod it. There are so many things that are just there in our basic sort of greetings codes and everything like that. It's like when we meet people at a party, you know, the first question, what do you do? And it's not a deep line of questioning as to what makes you tick, what's your view of life, the universe and everything. It is, of all the infinite possibilities there are on this planet and in this universe, it's what do you do to earn credits from the system. You know, what a low blow that is, that we've been reduced to how we earn our money, like it really has any moral, any fun in it, any semblance of reflecting our deepest aspects of our soul. No, it's just how we earn something which we all pretty much universally think is a very ugly commodity, and that's money. You know, pleased to meet you. My name's Dave. So what do you do? I'm a poet, I'm a writer, I like walking, I like dreaming of a life that doesn't so closely resemble my own. I like looking out the window and putting the players of the play of my life in different positions that suit me, and I like fantasy, and I like reading books, you know. I like being lost in the world of computer games more than I do in the physical world that I inhabit. No, people don't want to know that. And they don't really give a fuck what you do for a living either. It's just so weird how we've become so conditioned to say certain things when certain lines of questioning are given to us, which are standard. You know, it's like when you turn on a computer, it asks you to give your password. And we would set ourselves above something like a mechanical machine that decodes data from the internet, etc., and runs programs. But we're no different in any way, shape or form in the way we've given our souls away. We've allowed ourselves to be reduced, in even the way we describe ourselves, into a tiny microcosm of what's truly, potentially out there for us in this universe. I think that's sad, really. It's amazing that people put their pleasures. You know, I've had this challenge, not challenge, but I've thought about it a lot during the lockdown. Everybody's missing pubs and shopping, and I think, do you really though? I've seen people in this last week, since pubs reopened on the 12th, it's now the 15th. You can sit outside, you can't go indoors. And it was freezing. but still, just as a matter of principle, people were sitting there drinking their beer that, let's face it, all right, you spend £3 or £4 on a pint of beer in a British pub. If you went to an off licence, you know, a liquor store, and spent the same money, you'd get yourself an 8-pack. Admittedly, probably not the nicest of beer, but you know, you'd still get a damn sight more. But there's that illusion that a social life, that probably with the amount people go to pubs in general, they go there, get pissed up, don't remember a thing about it, have spent a whole wad of money that they probably can't afford, and have no memory of whether it was pleasant or unpleasant. It's a sort of the amnesia of alcoholic evenings, you know. And it's just crazy. It's crazy to me what we now pass off as being moments of pleasure, moments of joy. God, I was so fucking pissed last Friday night. I was ill all weekend. Bacon sandwich, didn't even get rid of my hangover. Great. So 5 days on the company's dollar, and then you get your own time and make yourself ill for pleasure. There's got to be something in that people have got to agree with, surely, that it's a little bit on the screwy side. I look back over my lifetime so far as to what's meant to be fun and have a laugh sometimes. When I look back to times in my life where I used to smoke weed each and every day, a naturally quite anxious person consuming a herbal remedy that has a tendency to make me even more anxious. You know, what are we thinking? We've all been there. We've all done stuff to us that on reflection you get to a certain point in life and you think, why the hell did I do that? You know, I can see the laughs that it caused and the hilarity, and I'd also say that for some people it's absolutely fine. But all too often I hear people saying, oh, I used to get paranoid. And or people who are still, you know, indulging, saying it makes me paranoid. What a bizarre state of affairs when you realise you get a little bit older, how fragile your psychological makeup is, you know, your mental health. You think, what the hell was I thinking? And what the hell are you thinking? You know, terrible for being guilty of criticising people for not having intimate knowledge of something that I gained intimate knowledge of 5 minutes ago. Bloody ignorant idiot, you know. And the same with bad habits. Why the hell do you still smoke or drink that shit? It's ridiculous. We're so at war with ourselves. We've got no time for anyone else, and we haven't. I know that I'm more speaking for myself here, but I've seen so many other people who like it that got no sympathy for seeing somebody stub their toe on a wall that you used to regularly until you consciously thought, I'm not going to stub my toe anymore. And we actually put people down. Look at that fucking idiot walking into that wall. We are crazy. Well, I'm going to go for the full walk that I planned because I got into terrible habits over the winter. My living arrangements where I can't use the kitchen has forced me to eat nothing but processed shit. And I've put on weight after 2 years ago doing so well and getting rid of a 2 or 3 stone and then putting a majority of it all back on. I'm doing my best to reverse that trend now, but yeah, nothing's going to stop me walking. I just can't afford to, really. Going over old territory here, but we can't teach anyone anything. Everybody has to stub their own toe on that surface on numerous occasions for them to eventually wise up. And you know, I think that one of the most unscrupulous and scumbag industries in the world is self-help. Self-help, there's an irony. Someone else intervening, you selling you something, and somehow it's you helping yourself. Don't get it. I honestly think that human minds are so easy to delude that people get into some kind of self-help guru, your Deepak Chopras, etc. And they so want their life to not closely resemble what they're currently living through. They convince themselves that it helped them. It's like if ever you've had a relationship, and I presume some of you had, or have had, and are having, where you've got a sexual connection with somebody. If it works, you work out, as I did 10 years ago, every connection that came before that. Oh, that's why sex was okay and never fucking mind-blowing, like it's always depicted in literature and in the movies and everything. There's a dead frog on the ground, quite a grim sight. And the truth is, if you've been through a situation where you click with somebody on that physical level, usually means you emotionally click as well, you realise that it is an infinite number of circuits which come together between you and them on a physical level that work. You can't buy the good sex guide and make it work. You can't twiddle your finger and rotate it in alternate figures of 8 to make it work. It either works or it doesn't. And those people making money out of conning vulnerable and desperate people into thinking that, read what I've got to say, it will change your life. It's just not possible. There are notable exceptions, I'll give you that. We've all had art and literature which moves us in ways that alters the way we view the world, but there are certain things in the world you've got to stub your toe on that surface to understand it hurts. And for some of us, we have to do it on numerous occasions. And the sexual connection, it's either there or it's not. You can't magic it into existence. In my Facebook feed yesterday, there was a video by Russell Brand, who, I don't know, I don't get it. He's a great wordsmith, and I think the sincerity in what he says, but he had an Indian, you know the image, you know the hippie image. He had an Indian like sari over his head, and it looked ludicrous. And I was thinking, yeah, people are so simple, and he's obviously so simple, that imprints that everybody who ever before has come before him with the name Baba in front of their name, or Guru so and so, has imprinted themselves that to get that kind of respect as a spiritual being, you've got to look the part, you've got to take on the visage of a sort of new age monk, and that's exactly what he's done. And no one in the comments underneath it was saying, why is it you've gone for this this viewpoint and this standpoint, which is arguably noble, but you're just a complete and utter hippie cliche? Doesn't add up. I can remember, you know, this is nothing new to me. I can remember when I was in the thick of it, even, you know, when I was a vegan and a hunt saboteur, and, you know, well into animal rights and everything like that. I can remember saying to people, no one here actually thinks for themselves. What happens when we buy our combat trousers and our army boots? In one of those side pockets that you get in your army trousers, is there a little manifesto of how you've got to dress and act? You know, the irony was, I was the classic version of that, you know, classic example of it. But it does my head in. You've got to be yourself. If you want to look at all credible in authentic ways, you've got to be yourself. And, you know, I just saw that yesterday with the Indian headdress on and everything, and I just thought, what are you doing? Who are you trying to convince, us or yourself? As either part of the far left or the far right politically, a lot of people see themselves as a champion of trying to maintain and preserve freedom of speech, freedom of choice. The whole kind of American amendments mentality tends to be a sort of more of a far right thing in America. But the irony is, all of those people who probably see themselves as the sort of champions of the sort of philosophical musings of someone like Orwell are all part of groups that are so limited in what they will allow close to them, philosophically and politically, that they are the very embodiment of everything that Orwell gave history a warning about. You know, I don't get it. I've been one of those people. We just all want to be that extreme in a minority. I know from a male standpoint, you want to be that extreme in a minority that's attractive to women, you know. That's what it all boils down to. People go, oh, no, that's not me, that's not me. Somehow their biological wiring is completely different to that of the rest of humanity. You know, it's very ugly. I know me and my ex-partner, we used to do videos regularly about sexuality and masturbation and all sorts of subjects based around sort of the grittier side of being a human being. And so many people would argue, no, I don't do that sort of thing. You just think you're going against billions of years of evolution by trying to play yourself off as being the exception to that biological rule. You just look foolish to anyone who's even vaguely intelligent or understands the biological history of humanity and every other species of mammal on the planet, you know. It's a funny old world that we live in. Yeah, champions of freedom of speech and choice tend to be the most closed-minded little ghettos you could ever wish to come across, or wish not to come across, probably. Sky looks beautiful. I'll give you a little shot in a sec. It's funny, isn't it, with little views like that, with the trees that come into canopy slightly later than others, that could be a video shot from mid-December with those two completely skeletal trees ahead. But yeah, it's a really warm April evening. It's good to be out and about. I'm glad that I always see the sort of latter part of winter. I think I'm just never going to leave the house again. Get to this point of the year and I find myself having multiple walks a day, and it is so good for me. It really is. Just getting away from that prison that I've frequented for the last, or voluntarily frequented over the last 2 years, does me so much good. It really does. You know, there's so much evidence that says getting out and going for a walk, with regards to even people with neutral mental health, you know, it's so good for you. Just that change of scenery, and I always make sure it's a good hour, good few miles, you know. It does me the world of good. Just for a moment back there, hearing the beautiful twilight chorus, I guess, just reminded me of being a child. That sound of summer nights when you didn't necessarily want to go to bed yet, but your parents said it was time, and it was still light outside, it was still warm, you could still hear the birds. It's amazing how evocative sight, sound and smell, you know, the senses are just so easily turned into little time machines. And yeah, definitely got a real sense of my childhood wandering around here at this point in time. Yeah. Edible herb and plant garden here is rather beautiful. Small, but perfectly formed. Yeah, it's lovely. Really nice little addition to this park. I think all of us just want our lives and our past and our present and our future to amount to something that sort of maybe makes the world a better place. And you know, I'm just fascinated to see what passes for opinion, intelligence in myself and other people. You know, I've got to a point in my life where I look back and cringe at so much I used to think was cast in stone with regards to my opinions and how the world turned. And the only certainty there is in life is change, and I'm such a different person to who I used to so confidently profess to be. And there is such a delicate balance between people who are willing to say, I'm not sure about anything, and those people who are just colossal fence sitters, people who use their experience, their morality, their lack of morality, and assess every situation that comes their way on its unique merits. There's something to be said for those people, but there are also people on the periphery of my life who are so delusional with regards to the way they present what they view as being beautiful in the world. You know, on the classic, on the one hand thing of showing the cute little lambs in the field, and then a month later there's a video of them cooking a lamb casserole. You know how people's delusions go. And yeah, I'm amongst their number, and so are you. It's just a very interesting subject, and I'm so turned off by people. I used to think it was people who had complete moral courage and conviction to an idea. I used to think they were the holy grail, but now when people are certain about things, I just think you actually scare me. There is just no beauty in the staunch or the committed, you know. yet again notable exceptions, but it just amazes me that sort of relentless moral courage can be seen as something, you know, an idea set of someone else's that an individual has taken on. And get into a midlife situation and realising that it's those who are unsure but committed to assessing situations from a sort of morally just standpoint, they're the people who move me, you know. And again, it's not to say that my moral compass is sound or anything. There's loads of tiny little petals falling on the ground. Beautiful. It's like snow. And yeah, just those points in life where you wonder why you were so disappointed, and that subconscious feeling of something not being right. I can see it's all down to reading certain feelings and certain admiration into situations that don't deserve it. You know, the classic with how far this can go was in the first part of the first decade of this century, and I convinced myself that I'd fallen in love with somebody. She was beautiful, very, very demure, very attractive in the way she carried herself. But you know, I just got to a point in life where I'd had so many disasters, all guided by my own hand, I hasten to add, that I fell in love with the idea of being in love with her. And you know, when I look back over the people in my life who've really, really moved me, there's something which speaks volumes about that one person who I was convinced I fell in love with. I don't even remember the sound of her voice. And I can remember people I met in the 80s, I can still hear them speaking, but I've got no recollection of her voice, and it's not that long ago. And yeah, we can delude ourselves into all sorts of things. Our minds are so powerful in their weakness. You know, great irony there. They're so powerful in their weakness that we will quite easily create something that we feel we need, which is going to do us, ironically, in the long run, a lot more damage than it is good.